Welcome into the Joy to the World podcast, the show that celebrates the good in humanity and highlights those who bring joy to their world. Now give it up for your host, Joy.
Oh, hi, this is Joy. Today we're with Judy Seramur, and she's going to tell us about what she does with MS.
Hi, I'm Judy Seramur. I was diagnosed with MS March 17th, 2005. So, look at the Irish. But I probably had it for a year before they actually got the diagnosis. So, when I was diagnosed, I knew a little bit, well, a lot of bit about MS because my mom and her sister also had MS. My aunt probably got diagnosed in her 20s, back in the late 50s, early 60s.
And there wasn't much treatment back then.
Nothing. They knew very little about MS. My mom was diagnosed in 86. Also, no FDA-approved drugs at that point.
So were you about the same age as they were when they were diagnosed?
No, my aunt was in her probably in her 20s, her late 20s. My mom was 50, which is kind of late. She probably had it a while and just ignored the symptoms. I was diagnosed when I was 41. So, so...
But I think you have taken this into a whole positive thing for MS. You've done so much for your community, for yourself, for the whole MS thing. I mean, you are just an inspiration to me, but to everybody in our community.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we took the bull by the horns when I was diagnosed. The first year we just did the MS walk. You know, I said, hey, who wants to join me and do this MS walk? You know, when your parent or your aunt, you know, is diagnosed, or, you know, you knew they had it, but when it's you, it's like different. So it's like, maybe I need to do something here. Maybe I need to do something to help the community, or, you know, the MS community.
Just to bring everybody awareness about MS.
Exactly. So the first year we just walked, a group of us, maybe 5 or 6 of us, you know, friends and a couple family members. And we walked and raised about $3,500. And at that walk, it was very humbling just to see people on their scooters, people with walkers, people with canes, and, you know, just walking for MS. And it was very humbling. But the thing that got us was they announced, okay, the number 1 fundraising team from last year gets to lead the walk. Well, you know, the competitive edge jumps in. And my team were like, we're going to lead the walk next year.
We're going to do better. We're going to raise more.
We're going to raise more. So we decided to have a bowling fundraiser, which
is huge.
We just held our 19th annual Strikeout MS bowling and raffle event last Sunday, in fact, at the Region Bowl in Hebron. We've also held it at Country Lanes in Lowell. But when we started, it was just a lot of bowlers, you know, 96 bowlers, full house, and maybe 2 raffle tables, some raffle gifts that we raffled off. This year we had over 100 items that we raffled off in our bucket raffle, and then we had 5 or 6 items in our super raffle.
You have sponsored lanes too?
We do not have sponsored lanes. It's something that we haven't dipped into yet. Maybe something that we might look into in the future. But we don't have sponsored lanes. We because our second fundraiser of the year that we do,
golfing,
is our Take a Swing at MS golf outing that we do in the fall. And we have whole sponsors for the golf outings.
Yes.
So I try not to double dip on my sponsors. I appreciate everybody that sponsors donations for the raffle prizes and stuff for the bowling. So I don't like to double dip and hit people up twice a year. So we'll look for those other sponsors for those whole sponsorships, the $100, $200, $300 sponsorships. So,
Well, I know I know our business. They're all taken off that day every year for the golfing.
yeah, your family, and Steven, yeah. So it's always a lot of fun. We have a lot of the same foursomes that come back, along with the bowlers. We have some of the bowling lanes that we fill. I think there's a couple teams that have been coming all 19 years, at least 18. Some teams have been coming for like 15 years, And
you have a lot of great volunteers, the same ones coming back all the time.
Yes, yeah, a lot of good friends, a lot of family. Our team is not very big. Our walk team, maybe usually on an average of 10 people, maybe 8 to 10 people that sign up and do the walk. But what a huge support system I have.
So speaking of support systems, what would you say to somebody that maybe just found out they have MS or have a family member or a friend? I mean, how do they find, I don't know, not comfort, but how do they find support or help? Like, where do they start?
Well, they can start with the MS Society. The MS Society started, I'd say, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago. It's called the MS Navigator. And you can find that 1-800 number on the MS site, the National MS Society site. And it's just a person that you connect with, you talk with them, you ask them questions. They can answer anything. It's called MS Navigator. They kind of navigate you through things. There's also help groups through your neurologists and stuff. A lot of the hospitals have help groups that they gather once a month or once a quarter or whatever, and they talk about MS and just the different
Type of treatments that they have available now.
Yeah.
Because now there are multiple different treatments.
Oh, so many.
I know when my father-in-law was diagnosed years ago, it was a lot different than it is now. And then I have a friend, her husband, well, he's my friend too, but, his diagnosis and his treatment is so much different than the next person's treatment.
Yeah.
It's just a lot more opportunities of different types of treatment nowadays.
Exactly. And it was funny because when I was diagnosed, there was 5 approved drugs in 2005. So 20 years ago, there was 5 drugs approved, and they were all injections. Anybody that knows me knows I have a fear of needles. So when they told me I was going to have to take an injection, I was like, right. And so my neurologist started going through the different types, and it was like, okay, this one's once a month, this one's once every 2 weeks, this one's, and this one's daily. And I said, I'll do that once a month one.
Yeah, I don't want to be injected that often.
And then she said, well, let's go through the side effects of all of them, So, and lo and behold, we decided on the once a day. So I went from a fear of needles to giving myself an injection every day, which was much easier than I thought, because it's kind of like an EpiPen where it comes in a pre-filled syringe. You put it in your injector, hit your spot, it goes. So
now, how long have you been doing that?
So I did that for 17 years, and I think 9 of those years it was daily. Then they reformulated that drug, and I started doing shots 3 times a week then. So it wasn't as bad. But about 4 years ago, I hit a blood vessel in my leg, and my doctor was like, you're done with injections. Your body just can't take it any longer. And by this time now, there's a lot more what are they? Disease modifying DMTs. I'm at a loss.
That's
right
okay.
Now. Anyways, but there's a lot more drugs for us. So there's oral medications, there's infusions,
Yes.
the injections. So going back, 2005, 5 medications that were FDA approved. Now I believe there's 26 or 27.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So
Because I know back, a long time ago, they're like, oh, you're just going to get a drip of steroids. And you're like, what? That's all? That's all I'm going to get?
Yeah.
So that's crazy how far it's come along since then.
yes. So I'm on an oral medication now, and I take, in the morning I take 2 pills, and in the evening I take 2 pills. It's funny, all my friends laugh because I have my alarm set on my phone at 7 o'clock. It goes off, and everybody goes, "Oh, medicine time!"
Now, do you still have to get MRIs to see if?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Usually every other year, my neurologist, because knock on wood, I'm doing very, very well. I have not had a new lesion in probably, I don't know. When I was diagnosed, I had like 3 or 4 lesions, and now I think I have 5.
And anybody that doesn't know, I mean, you got to have the MRIs to measure those lesions on your brain for the MS. Yeah.
Your brain or your spine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I was diagnosed, it wasn't numbness, tingling. I wasn't stumbling. I'm an avid golfer, and I couldn't follow the ball anymore. And it was like, where'd that go? And I'd be driving the cart, and my partner would say, "Where's it at?" "Well, you just ran it over." I was losing my vision. So with that, started the eye doctor appointments because I thought I was having vision what's going on? Saw the eye doctor a couple times. She sent me to an ophthalmologist, saw him twice. He was like, I can't, he goes, if I had to be a guessing man, he said, MS. But he said, that's a guess. So he said, I want you to go to a neurologist. So it was an easy pick because my mom had a neurologist.
Right. So you were kind of prepared.
Right. So I went to the same, we kind of doubled up our appointments, went together. But she was like, okay, we're going to, do some testing, do an MRI, but I'm going to send you down to Carmel, Indiana to IU Eye Center to a neuro-ophthalmologist. Now, if you've never been for a neuro-ophthalmologist appointment, it was 6 hours long.
Dang.
And it was, I didn't think they could put any more things in my eyes and, hard like lenses with wires coming. It was awful. And I'm not one to have something put in my
your eye.
eye.
Like you're not wearing contacts.
Oh, no. So, but between the two of them and the MRI and she came back and she says, well, we're 99% sure. But she goes, to be 100% sure, we're going to have to do that spinal tap. I said, schedule it.
Because the sooner you know, the sooner you can move forward.
We'd already been through a year of this. So, and I had never even been in the hospital, never had an IV, nothing. So when I went in for that spinal tap, the nurse, I said, I don't like needles. She's got to give me an IV. I said, I've never been in a hospital, the whole spiel. And she said, well, the radiologist will come in and explain everything to you. And I said, okay. So she came in, and then the nurse came back, and she had a little cup in her hand, and she says, here. And I go, what's that? And she goes, just a little something to relax you.
Yeah, calm you down a little.
Whoops, calm you down. And I said, okay. And by the time they took me, I was like, let's go. You know, but it, they were surprised when, I mean, I was like, head on, let's go, let's get this, let's figure it out, you know.
Well, that's why I think that, like, why I'm so proud of you is just that you didn't just sit back and cry about it. You went and did something about it.
Yeah.
And now you've made our community so aware of it that I think that you've helped so many people because of that.
Yeah. I run into people all the time. I went to the bank, not here, but in Hobart where I work, last week, and I had an MS sweatshirt on,
And they recognized.
the lady actually said, she goes, is, you know, because I've never seen her before, and she was like, do you do the MS walk? My daughter was just diagnosed a year ago, you know, this and that, you know. So it's always a connection. Mm-hmm. There's always a connection somewhere. And I run into people all the time, and I just got diagnosed. I remember I was out fundraising one time. This was probably 10 years ago. And I went into a business restaurant to see if I could get a donation. And the lady overheard me, and she said, I just got diagnosed with MS 2 weeks ago. And I sat down in the booth with her.
And just went.
And her daughter, and just talked to her. Because the lady, she was scared to death.
Right. And she needed that.
And she needed that. Yeah. And
you were put there for a reason that day.
That day. I went into that restaurant that particular day for, you know, and when I left, I probably sat there for, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes talking to a complete stranger, you know, but just telling her, you know, it's not a death sentence. It's not, you know, you're not going to end up, not everybody is going to end up
bedridden, wheelchair bound.
You know, there are those cases. If you have primary progressive MS, you know, you probably will. But I mean, they've come along so much that these, you know, there's no cure. But
is it still true that it's more primary in women than men?
Yeah, I think they say that.
That was a long time ago. You got an MRI, not been around it for years, but I thought
I don't know the statistics, but I think they do say that.
Yeah, I thought it was in one of the pamphlets when I was up at the University of Chicago, but
yeah, the disease modifying treatments is what I was.
Oh, there you go. You got it.
Earlier.
It takes us a while sometimes.
Yeah, you know, part of this is memory loss too. But there's no cure. But the disease modifying treatments basically slow the disease down. They will, you know.
It's not like it's going away. It's just making it, stopping from being so acute, so aggressive.
Yes. So stop having those relapses, you know. Because
when those episodes hit, then once it puts another lesion on your brain, and that's when it may cause more things like forgetting and all that, or immobilizing people.
Mm-hmm. You know, numbness, tingling, fatigue, memory loss. There's so many things, but it's funny because I heard one person describe it one time at a conference as the snowflake disease, because every snowflake is different.
Oh, that's a very good description then.
And every person with MS, and it's why it's so hard to diagnose, is because every person with MS has different symptoms.
Yeah.
Like me, I was losing my vision, you know, optic neuritis, you know, but with the medicine and we talked about the steroid. The first thing they did was, you know, give me a blast of steroids for like a week, to bring that inflammation down in my optic nerves.
Yes.
You know, and then with the medications and, just taking care of yourself a little bit makes a difference. I was 150 vision loss in my left eye. So my depth perception was just awful.
Yeah.
It was like driving. It was like I didn't want to go out of my comfort zone too much because it was like, oh, brake lights.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think, though, with your positive attitude has to help, too. And doing something about it instead of sitting at home feeling miserable about yourself.
Exactly.
I just think you being out and about and finding something to do helps you heal, too.
Yes, it does.
And making good cakes.
I made one this morning. A baby shower cake. You might
I might know who that's for.
But yeah, I keep very busy between a regular full-time job, the fundraising, which people don't understand. They come to that day and they think, oh, that's months of work. Putting stuff together, it's months of work. And, you're always, the week before my bowling fundraiser, people were like, oh, do you want to do this? Or I'm like, nope, gotta go home.
We talked about this the other day when you're like, after the bowling event, because I had a huge event to get ready for. You had a huge event to get ready for. So we were like volunteering our butts off. So we were like, okay.
Exactly.
But I just want to say, like, I'm proud of you because
Thank you.
You do such a good job of supporting other people and supporting yourself at the same time.
I want to make a difference, and I think we are. Our small little walk team, which our team name is Miles for Smiles, which I came up with because of we wanted to do something with MS, and with the walk, it's not like we walk miles at the MS walk. It's a 1 or a 3 mile, But we put in the miles for the smiles. That's kind of was our theme.
Well, how can people find out about your events?
Our events, well, a lot of it is word of mouth. I do create Facebook events. That's kind of...
So look for you on Facebook.
Look for me on Facebook. We do... like I said, a lot of it is word of mouth. I have a huge support system.
Community is key around here.
Community is key. And there's something to be said about small towns.
Yes.
Because, the year of COVID, when everything hit, the walk, we didn't have the walk on site for, I think, 20 and 21. We did our walk your own way. Mm-hmm. But we still fundraised.
Right.
And
so you could still get some funds to put into MS, but we couldn't all get together.
Right. So, and I believe it was in 2021 when, or was it? No, it was in 2020, I think. It was in 2020 when everything was kind of shut down and stuff. And, our team was the number one fundraising team in the state.
I remember it
Indiana.
getting promoted, yes.
So when a lot of the big corporations and, I'm competing against walks from Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, South Bend.
But you were getting a lot of little donations that made up to make for the biggest donation in the state.
Exactly. Because we always had the bowling fundraiser in February, the end of February. That year, actually, I think it was supposed to be in March, and everything shut down. So, but then when everything started opening back up, I had people calling me saying, let's still do it.
Let's do it. Let's move forward.
We can do this. If the bowling alley, is, and they were willing and able, so we had it. And then the golf outing happened, So that year, as much as everything was shut down and people were like worried about what was going to happen, we raised the most money we had ever raised.
Well, I think
know.
people were tired
They
of being by
didn't-
themselves too.
Tired of being by themselves, tired of being shut in,
Mm-hmm.
so getting out and doing. And I can't say it enough, the people that show up and support me.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I
you
think
know.
so too.
People that just reach out and say, "Hey, I want to do a donation. I want to make a basket. I want to do,
What can I give? How can I help you?
How can I help you? So it's amazing. It's very humbling.
Yes.
It's very humbling. So, and it makes me feel good when I hear, just last week at the bowling fundraiser, several people saying, "This is our favorite fundraiser of the year that we come to." And my golf outing. My brother is an iron worker, and he was on the executive board, and he golfed in a lot of golf outings and stuff over the years. And he said, "It's not just because you're my sister." He said, "This is my favorite golf outing of the year."
Well, they all have fun at it. I know that.
And he said, the ironworkers always sent a foursome. And it was after like 1 or 2 years, whatever. He said somebody at their meeting got up and said, because they bring it to a vote, "Hey, we got a letter,
Yeah, how many are going?
we need a, vote on a foursome." Somebody stood up and said, "I think we should do 2 foursomes for this." So now every year they do 2 foursomes.
I think we do 2 foursomes, and we're not that big, just because everybody wants to go.
Yeah. So it's very humbling, though, to hear these people say, "That's my favorite golf outing of the year. You make it so fun," and
Well, you make it fun, and then people go and they all know each other, so they have
Yeah,
fun out there.
Exactly.
And all your volunteers are so friendly, and they know everybody else, so it just makes it a good time.
Yeah, it is. It's good. I always have volunteers at all the par threes. We do, betting hole raffles, and they have fun with it.
Yes.
They have fun with it.
So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people know how to get treatment, how to get help, and then how to give money to all your fundraising. So we just make sure right now the only way they can get a hold of you is either through me or through your Facebook.
Exactly.
Or get a hold of you directly.
Yeah, directly.
Yeah.
But,
But you did bring a blanket today.
I did bring a blanket.
So we'll make sure we get that on there too,
Yeah.
because tell us who made that blanket for you.
So there's a couple from Four Seasons, and they started doing my bowling event. And Dave's mom, Loretta Weiss, made that blanket for me. So she made a couple different blankets for the fundraiser. She goes, "I want to make some blankets for you to raffle off." And when she brought this one, she said, "I want you to keep this one."
Gotcha.
So it was a very nice gift that I got. And it was just, she took some pictures the year before at the bowling fundraiser. And then she looked on my Facebook page and took some pictures off my Facebook page.
And put it on there.
And made the blanket. So.
Nathan, can we get a picture by itself of the blanket and put it on there? Okay. Instead of trying us to hold it up, what we'll do is then
Yeah.
we'll just put a picture up of it so
Okay.
somebody can get a nice, pretty
Yeah,
shot of it, because
yeah.
I think that's really cool.
So-
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, not just for this, but I appreciate you as a friend.
I appreciate you too. And I just want to say one other thing. Was it 2 weeks from today, is the MS walk in Highland at Wicker Park.
Which you're going to be speaking,
No,
right?
No, I'm not speaking
Oh,
this year.
that's not this one.
That was last year.
Okay.
That was last year. They conned me into doing the speech last year. But
So what day, May what?
what is 2 weeks from today?
2 weeks from
May
today
18th? May
is
19th? I don't know, my days
so
are so
it would
confused.
be on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So it'd be May 17th as
May
a Saturday.
17th. Okay. So May 17th, Wicker Park. You can go online.
To register?
To National MS Society and register. That's
Okay.
the only way. Just go to register now, find my walk, type in MS Walk Highland, Indiana,
Okay.
and you can register. If you want to join my team, Team Miles for Smiles, we're the -- 1 fundraising team in.
If you want to be on number one
if
team.
you want to be on the number one team. But yeah, it's a very good, like I said, it's a very good humbling event for people to come and see the people with MS out there and all their families and friends supporting them.
Yes.
So
Awesome.
it's very, very, very good, very good time.
Awesome.
So.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joy.
Joy, 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 joy.